Hello everyone! Today we're taking a look at the Runcam Thumb. Yeah, we're going to take a look at this tiny little camera that looks fairly familiar. It has kind of that similar shape to the Insta360 Go and Go 2. And keep in mind, this camera is $50 and it's been out for a while. This came out clear back in February when I was on vacation. I'm just now getting around to it, of course. And it's a really good opportunity for those of you that have purchased and received and experienced your own to go down in the comment section and leave your thoughts about this camera, your use cases, what you think of the image quality, the stability, and using it with gyro flow. Because yes, this does have a gyro in it. And those of you that are doing your research, it's also a good opportunity to go down in that comment section and see what others who have purchased this camera think. Now this camera doesn't have a battery, so the first thing is it's got a little PH 1.25, the old style of connector we used to use that connects here on the back, and you wire that to your flight controller or whatever power source that you have that's 5 volts. Any more than 5 volts and not so good. But we're going to take a look at several different samples that I've got, and I've got some split screen to compare it to maybe an unexpected source as well. So let's get started. It comes with a USB cable. You can connect it to the USB port and get the data right off of it. You don't have to take the SD card out. You get an ND filter. You do get a mount, but if you use this mount, I would suggest putting some tape around the non-lens end, which would actually be this side, to give yourself a fighting chance of keeping it in there, because this is pretty light and flexible. There's also this little sticky pad that you can stick underneath the mount that might give you some vibration dampening. And of course we get some mounting screws. It does come with one PH 1.25 connector that you can use to wire to your flight controller, but only one. And a manual. On the back, this side lifts out to get access to your SD card. You will want a high-speed SD card. You can see my SanDisk card in there. It's just a little 16 gig card. And to update the firmware, which yes, this is running version 2.1, you need to put a file on the root of this SD card and then power it up. The light on the front will flash green, and then it'll go off, and then you repower the Runcam Thumb, and then it's fully updated and ready to go. It weighs just a touch under 10 grams, and if you take the case off, it weighs 4.35 grams. And because math is hard, you can see it there with my SD card at 4.59 grams, and my SD card all by itself 0.29 grams. As you can see here, we do have some wind. The little bit of leaves on those branches are kind of waving at us. Pretty common for my area, pretty much always some form of wind. This isn't terrible, although when we get out into the street, the wind speed does pick up. Something to keep in mind. So this is unstabilized, this is raw footage. I thought this was the best opportunity to see what you get if you don't want to run it through gyro flow. And as I said in the intro, yeah, it does have a gyro in it and it records that data, so you actually have a few options within your configuration file. I'm not going to go into that real deep. Props off, Scooter Pie. He did a really nice and lengthy video with a lot of details about this camera, so I'm going to link that down in the video description. He shows you updating, he shows you all the different configuration entries. I'm just mostly interested to showing it to you now that it's been out here for a while and I got a sunny day. Just spin it around my environment to see what you think. I think most people got pretty excited about the price point, because up to this point, it's been pretty difficult to get a camera that has been budget friendly. So maybe if you crash and you break it, man, it doesn't bring quite as much sadness at only $50. And I know that a number of people that I've talked to have reported that, you know, it's sold out. Plus, we got a little bit of a sneak peek of the destruction or the construction going on in the backyard. Yeah, that's been going on for a while. It looks a little bit differently now than it does in the shot that you're seeing. But, yeah, the pool is taking a lot longer with our horrible weather of getting in. But that's about a minute and a half of this raw footage. Let's bring in some stabilized footage to see what you think of that. So this is stabilized and I still see jello in there, and I am by far not an expert in the use of gyro flow. I did make sure that the gyro data was seen. I did make sure that I selected the Runcam Thumb lens profile. I did set the stabilization up for the smoothest that I saw in the preview screen. I did render this a few different times in a few different ways to see what my results were like. And I do have it firmly wedged inside the mount on my Nexa 3 from Avant Quads, which is a very smooth quad. And I chose that quad, well, after I had already done another quad, because I wanted to see how smooth a quad do you need in order to get smooth footage out of the camera. So remember, this is stabilized, and as a reminder, you'll see a little bit of text on screen to indicate that this is stabilized. but we still see some movement in the camera. I'm curious if that is a lack of amount of gyro data, or if it's just not recording, it's not sensitive enough, the gyro. I'm not certain. Again, it could be a setting that I'm using in GyroFlow that isn't completely smoothing out the video, because I've had much worse vibrating quads that the Insta360 Go and Go 2 pretty much get rid of that jello altogether. So I'm just not certain why it's not totally smooth having that gyro data and running it through GyroFlow. Next up, I have a little something special for you. We are going to compare this to the Caddx Nebula Pro that is in my Nexa 3 in a split screen format. So keep in mind, these cameras are mounted one above another, and I might not have the camera angles dead on the same. So we have a little bit of a separation in that line that I've got running the difference. The Caddx Nebula Pro is on the left and the Runcam Thumb is on the right. So this, I thought, would be an interesting take on being able to compare it to that camera, because even if you don't fly the DJI system, you've probably seen a lot of footage on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram of the Caddx Nebula, because it's kind of the running camera that we see a lot of people using because of its mounting, because of its availability, and it's been around a good while. So that, I thought, gave us a pretty good comparison as far as sharpness, color grade, things of that nature. But of course, with the new firmware, we can change a lot of those things on the Runcam Thumb. This is at the default. Of course, you can raise and lower all the different settings. Again, that's in Props Off video. I've got a link for you down in the video description to his video so you can see that configuration file, the updating process, and any other information that he might have to add to his experience in using this camera. But I thought the split screen and comparing it to the Nebula Pro was another opportunity. You might have the DJI Micro and you're wanting to put this camera on it, and you might be wondering, is there a benefit to it other than the gyro? You know, of course, my Nebula Pro on my Nexa 3 is very, very smooth, very, very steady. I don't see nary any jello in it at all, but I do see some jello in the Runcam Thumb. Of course, it is a full sun day, so maybe that ND filter that they included would have helped to maybe mitigate some of that to a degree. But this is a pretty smooth flying quad, and that's the reason why I wanted to show you this clip. But let's go to a quad that's not as smooth flying. Okay, so this, of course, is on my Crux 3.5, which is a very agile and very quick and very fun quad to fly, but it is not as smooth. It's lighter, so the wind has a greater impact on it. And the mount that I used was the default mount that Runcam sent with this. I'm not certain if that comes in all packages, so make sure if you're looking at the product listing whether it talks about a 3D printed mount being included or not. Also, with the GyroFlow, I did have the zoom feature on, and it was zoom at about 2 seconds. So you'll see as I pitch up and down that it will use the zoom feature in order to try to stabilize or smooth out the video. But this gives you, we have unstabilized on the left and we have stabilized on the right. There is a difference, but it's not huge in my estimation. Of course, this was a pretty rough day. It was even windier. You may be able to tell from the view in the backyard that this was a while back ago. Even though the shell of the pool is in, we don't have quite the same layout we didn't have in the previous footage that I've already shown you. But I wanted to give you this example too, so if you do have a real light quad that you don't know if it's very smooth or not, that this is the sort of output that you'll get after just natively viewing the recorded video as well as processing it through GyroFlow. And we pull up to the house here. This gives us a little fisheye. Look how it matches up from time to time. It just matches up just right when I'm real steady. But it gives you an idea to look at the fisheye that the camera may or may not have. That's kind of up to you. I'm not very good at judging that. So what do you think? This $50 ultralight camera. I think for a micro, it's a good opportunity at a low cost to get some higher definition footage. You know, you're probably not a professional. You're not out wanting to shoot with a $10,000 camera or anything of that nature. You're just looking for something a little fun that you can record some memories with by chance. And at only 10 grams with its case, or a little less actually, and less than 5 grams without its case, there's a host of opportunities to mount this up to various micros, whether it's a Whoop or a 2-inch or what have you. And if you haven't already, those of you that have it, please leave your comment down in the comment section, letting people know about your experience. Maybe you had better output, or maybe the different quads that you found that you've been running this on, which worked out well, which worked out maybe not so well. And those that are just watching the video, what did you think? And for $50, what do you expect? If you have any other comments, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.